Oh, maybe I'm in here for a while. My bad. My bio.
Do you think coming to Ghana has changed you as a person in any way?
Oh, entirely. Entirely, yeah. So I did a semester studying at Legon, studying African culture, African history, and development. So I was in the International Development Studies program.
How does it play a role in Canada? Why do you come here to learn all of these things?
When I went back to Canada, and I saw some people at work, and I just said, "Oh, good morning," and they all looked and no response. And I was like, "Oh, I forgot where I am." Even the good morning, and then you have a conversation for 10 minutes. You know, oh, I'm from this place, I'm from that place. What about you? And you can have a chat with somebody you don't know.
Ghanaians can argue verbally, but will never touch each other. No assaults.
Yeah, it's very true. Even in the Ubers, you get talking to somebody, or somebody you're sitting beside will be talking to the driver, and you feel the heat come. And then another point is made, oh, God bless you for that point. And then it's the whole situation has changed. So it can go from fight to love.
One of the mission, is to change the narrative people have about Africa.
Why are we so concerned about what they say? We know what's going on here. We know how to do things here. We know we don't live in trees or whatever they say. It's not all conflict in Ghana. People aren't just cutlassing you on the street. That's what you think. Okay, you just be there.
Is there a special feeling you get over here that you don't get back in Canada?
Yeah, relaxed. Relaxed. Yeah. This Chile life is stressful. Ghana is not just the cities. It's not just Accra. It's not just Kumasi and Tamale, right? There's 800,000 villages in Ghana, and if we can do some projects in 800,000 villages, it's going to change the country. I'm back this time to start a rice mill project with some partners and an NGO.
Well, do you believe Africa is the future also? Because we have the youngest population, and a lot of investments also are moving towards this side.
It's a land of opportunity. So, if you can do it and you can do it correctly, it's going to help.
This episode of AFRI Experience is going to be a very unique and special one because my guest is more Ghanaian than I am. In a way, I'm going to explain. He speaks Twi more than I do. He's traveled all across Ghana than I did. Ah, man. He's a content creator on TikTok, and he does all his content in Twi. Guys, help me welcome Kwame Ahof3.
Thank you, sir.
Akwaba.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Boko Pao. Now, sir. Yeah, okay.
I know the basics, but I speak, very fluent.
Of course. Yeah, that one I understand.
Tell my fans something, man, in Twi.
Oh, maybe I'm in here for a while. My bad. I check my bio.
Why did you choose to learn the local language?
Well, I'll say it wasn't a why, it was by force. I was in Techiman for some time, and they like to play. They're always testing you when you go to the market, when you're walking on the road, hey, is this guy, where does he stand in the mix of things? So, Bruni, say it this way, Bruni, say it that way. And, bit by bit, you pick it up. And, eventually I was living in a local house, compound house, shared toilet and bath with traders and farmers. So, most of them didn't speak English on a daily basis. So, no choice. You pick it up, and bit by bit, I am where I am today. So,
was there a moment where you realized that, no, I have to learn this language? Was there like a particular moment like that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's more of the path I was on anyways, right? I did schooling. I did, a lot of studies in Ghana, on Ghana. It seemed natural progression of learning progressing to a language. So it just kind of went that way, And maybe if I ended up, instead of Techiman in Aflao, I would have picked up a little bit more Ewe along the way. So it just it ended up that way.
And then even when you left Ghana, you decided to continue speaking Twi. On your TikTok live, on your content, you speak Twi. Why is that?
Well, The whole TikTok thing started with the World Cup video. I don't know if you've seen it, but I was at the Toronto game, Panama against Ghana. And one interview, a guy was just holding the camera, asking questions in Tree, and I was just responding in Tree, and it went viral. So it's got a unique, I guess, twist to it. Obruni na kachi sa, and people like it. So if I change it and start doing TikTok in Brofo, then it might not be as popular, right? So it's part of that branding. It's part of that whole, that vision is to be more than just the Obruni living in Ghana, but Obruni Nakachino. Also, I know the place. I've been around, as you were mentioning. I've been around Ghana. I know the country well. So that sort of, adds to it with the language.
Right. Now I want to take you back to 2014, first time you came to Ghana. What even, why did you come to Ghana in the first place?
Yeah, so 2014, I was part of a university program from Canada that came for 1 full year of studies in Ghana. And originally I was in Accra here at Legon. So I did a semester studying at Legon, studying African culture, African history, and development. So I was in an international development studies program. And, so I was here for that. And then the next semester we were in the north doing some other studies, and then a placement with some of the development organizations doing research on that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was just, hey, let's go study.
Okay. Now, before you even came to Ghana, right? I know there's a lot said about Africa, outside of Africa.
Yeah, of course.
Were you happy to come here, or you were scared? What was the feeling like there?
Oh, for me, I was very happy. It was a place I was always interested in. And I guess, a lot of the negativity in the media, I didn't really get as a kid because I grew up in a very rural village area. I mean, less than a village. It was just our house on a road in the bush.
Right.
We didn't have money. We had a small TV that was broken. So we had to use a fork to turn it on. We had to bend it and stick it inside the TV to press the buttons and change the channels. But we only had about 6 channels. And they were all educational documentaries on different places of the world. So I grew up consuming not mainstream media in the Western world, but, educational stuff on things like, the development in Africa or situations around the world in Indonesia or wherever it might be. So, it was more curiosity for me. Hey, I have a chance to do it and go study and go learn, about an interesting place. Yeah, let's do it. It wasn't any fear-based stuff. I know, how the media can be, but again, I didn't grow up consuming, that type of media, I guess.
Right. Now, did you come alone, or you came with a group of students also?
Yeah, it was a group of students. I want to say 12 or 13 Canadian students, yeah.
Wow. Was that the same experience with them also when you have conversations with them? Like, were they happy to come here, or they were scared?
I think most of them were quite happy. Even the program that we did, development studies, is we challenge ourselves early years to break away from any kind of thinking that, this place is the dark place or it's the scary place, right? Even if there is conflicts, we do study the reasons behind those conflicts. So we try to understand what's going on. And, in university, if you're to, prepare for a career in these things, you're going to go to places that are, quote unquote, in conflict, not necessarily violent conflict, but there's some confusion going on. In the Ghanaian terms, it's confusion, right? So, we were prepared for it. We were ready for whatever came. And I think most people were quite interested from that program. So,
okay. If you can remember, I want you to take me back to the first time you arrived in Ghana, Accra International Airport, right? First moment, what was the feeling like, and what did you do?
Well, I mean, it was just exciting. I landed. There was the program assistant or program coordinator were waiting for me, and we just got on the bus. I was the first one to arrive, so I came a day earlier. And we, they took me around to the hotel, and I just sat waiting. But as soon as I entered the hotel, I started to see the Adinkra symbols, the Jinyame and, right, the Sankofa. And so I started asking the hotel person, hey, what does this mean? Like, what's the symbol here? And right away, the curiosity was on me because, I've never seen these symbols before. I understand there's meetings. So it was just, the door to a new world opening, I guess I'll say.
Were you confused with the word Akwaba, welcome, everybody says welcome, welcome. Did you experience that?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not confusion per se. I was a little bit prepared for it. I did listen to a few things on the internet. I knew where I was going. So, I was ready for whatever came, there was everybody says Akwaba, and getting the responses down, we either, the Nuya or the Enna or the Ad, all those different responses. But it's just part of the learning experience.
Now, when you went on the internet before you came to Ghana also, what are some of the things you found about Ghana?
Oh man, on the internet about Ghana, I think the big one that I was interested in at that time was the e-waste at Agbobloshi. Ghana being a big hub of electronic waste. And I've been to Agbobloshi before, the changes that are there now. And it's a difficult situation, but it's the reality of some of the things. And again, I was studying development studies. So you have to understand how this happened, what's the situation, what are the challenges around fixing it, where's this stuff coming from in the global context, right? Ghana's part of the world, as those who might not know, it's a major part of the international community. So that was one of the ones. And again, it was academic side of things, right? We weren't looking at it like, oh, Ghana can't do it or Ghana's bad or whatever. It was, hey, this is a certain situation in a certain area of Ghana. So that was one thing. And then I guess the other stuff about Ghana, oh, that's interesting. I guess would be probably the gold. The gold, yeah, both the industrial and the galamsey stuff, and then the IMF and the programs for structural adjustment programs in the 90s. So all of it. So I studied quite a bit about Ghana prior to coming here. Not so much society and the ethnic groups and all that kind of stuff I learned when I was here, but the reading and the watching I did was around those types of subjects.
Now, having visited like the continent of Africa, lived in Ghana, did you visit any other African country?
Morocco I've been to, and then slightly Togo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it like a different experience in those countries also?
Oh, for sure. Well, not so much Togo, because I mean the ethnic groups along the whole border is the same, right? Whether it's the Bimobas in the north or the Ewes in the south, it's quite similar. But I mean, Morocco is a totally different place, right? Totally different place, totally different people, totally different culture. So, and I mean the experience too. I was in Morocco as a visit, right? I was a tourist, quote unquote, in Morocco, where in Ghana, I was here to learn, I was here to study, I was here to experience it in a different way. So,
right. Let's come back to Ghana, man.
Yeah.
During your school days, like, I want you to tell me how it was going, like, going to Legon, coming back home. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I was staying at Medina Estates, not too far from UPS, or University of Professional Studies, or UPSA, I guess. But, I would walk all the way, almost for the first few months. I would walk up and down, I don't know the road names, but, and I would pass all the way to Legon just to get a better feel of, where I am.
Man, you were prepared for this.
A bit. But, taking the car, you close yourself off. And, those interactions of, people on the street. I remember there was one young kid he was making the sofas, the couch, and we would just, we had diagro, kakra, and then I'll go my way. And you meet people and you start to, okay, I can do this. This is good. This is, and you start to meet people and get to know the place. And, that's how you get familiar, have a community around you, all that kind of stuff. So, walking was first,
Any other thing that stood out? Did you try the local food immediately? Like, did you take time?
Yeah, my first food was gobe.
Oh, man.
That was my first food at Bush Canteen. Yeah. So
Was it good?
Bush Canteen at Lego. Yeah, of course. Gobe, so the original fast food. So, yeah, I was eating it. Yeah, definitely.
Was there any food that you had to take time to adjust to?
The one food up to now, is banku.
Oh, till now.
It's not my favorite. Up to now. I don't know. I just couldn't get into mine. I'm sorry for the banku lovers, but
I love banku.
yeah.
I love banku with carrot soup. Yeah. Now, I've had conversations with people from Canada, right? And one thing that we focus on talking more is about the hospitality they experience over here in Ghana. Was that the same for you?
Yeah. I think, the hospitality in general, but specifically the greetings and the free conversation, which we lack, I think, in much of Canada. Not all places and not amongst like a tight community, but in general. And I remember after I went back in 2021, when I went back to Canada, and I saw some people at work, and I just said, "Oh, good morning," and they all looked and no response. And I was like, "Oh, I forgot where I am." And like I said, when I was here, doing that walk to Legon, those simple good mornings, good afternoons, and then they're looking for you on the return home. Hey, we didn't see you yesterday, and you can sit even the good morning, and then you have a conversation for 10 minutes. Oh, I'm from this place, I'm from that place. What about you? And you can have a chat with somebody you don't know. And I think that's something, at least Canada, I can't speak for the whole Western world, but Canada is really lacking at this point. In my own experience, maybe not everybody will share that, but that aspect of Ghanaian hospitality, the checking on you, the good mornings, the conversations is really nice.
Are there any other things that caught your attention aside the hospitality? Was there any other thing, cultural thing that you loved so much?
Well, the one thing that I find really interesting, and it's a little bit beyond when I was, arriving here. I guess as I got deeper into the society, is the playmates in the north, and I don't know if you're aware of it.
Tell me about it.
So certain tribes of the north, they are what you call playmates. So Bimobas and Basari, for example, or Frafra and Dagati or Dagari. I don't want to say Dagati. Dagari is the real one. They can just insult each other freely. And it's just this interesting thing, this cultural phenomenon that I don't fully understand, but it's really interesting, and I really love it, to be honest. It's interesting to watch, the Dagatis and Frafra fight about who loves dog meat more, but they'll go back and forth, and you're like, is this a fight? Should I go? Like, oh no, that one's the guy, this one's fine. Don't worry, that's how they are. And it's just something that you not experience anywhere else that I've been, other than maybe northern Togo too. I'm sure it covers the area, but it's some interesting cultural thing that it's really nice.
It's just like a debate between Ronaldo and Messi, right?
It's something like that. Yes.
In my recent interview also, I spoke with one man from Syria, and he was telling me about the peace and how Ghanaians can argue verbally, but will never touch each other, no assault. What do you have to say about that also?
Yeah, it's very true. Even in the Ubers, you'll get talking to somebody, or somebody you're sitting beside will be talking to the driver, and you feel the heat come. And then another point is made with, oh, God bless you for that point. And then it's the whole situation has changed. So it's, it can go from fight to love to fight again, back to and I think that's actually another important one for Canadians to know. It's just a discussion.
Right.
We're just sharing our ideas. And I remember another time in North where two guys were going at it, the level was high. And I said, is there a problem? They're like, oh, no, they're just trying to understand each other. And I thought that was, it's an argument. And even argument, I believe in English, comes from that, trying to understand each other. It doesn't mean a fight.
Right.
So it was interesting to see that, because it's like, these guys, are they about to throw? And no, they're just trying to understand. So it's common. It's nice here to see that. And it's something we need to understand too, that... it's just sharing of ideas. We don't have to fight over what you think and what I think. So
that's right. Are you Christian or you Muslim?
I share all the values. But religion is not something I like to get so deep into.
Yeah, and there's the same piece in the religions over here. You can see a Muslim being best of friends with Christians and all of that. But different parts of the world is different, right?
I did one small video on that in TikTok, but I did it in English, so that was the one I did. And the dawn prayer ladies, the dawn preachers with the megaphones, and it's like, do you know if the guy in there is a Muslim? But yet no one is coming out of the room to say, and they just tolerate each other. And then the Christian too in the room when the call to prayer starts from the mosques too, and nobody gets upset. I should get up and go to work anyways. So it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing that it goes on in Ghana here. I mean, that one, it's a huge lesson for the world. We know the world, how, religious or what is perceived to be religious conflict, besides maybe the economics behind it, I don't know. But we know that there's religious conflict in the world, and Ghana is holding on strong. So it's a very good example for the world, I think.
Like, what are some of the cultural shocks that you experienced also when you first came here?
The cultural shocks, it's a tough one to note any real cultural shocks, because again, as trying to be a good student, you're trying to come in with an open mind. But one shock, and I guess I don't know if it's negative. You can tell me if it's negative or positive, but the whole level thing is very entrenched. And by level, I mean social classes.
Oh, right.
And the way the top levels sometimes talk down to the low, you want to school that. That one it shocked me because, these things, they were more prominent in our history, but today it's shifted a bit. We are trying in our own way that, how can this guy's a human being too. Well, did he choose to be born this way? I don't know, but I didn't ask to be born me. I was just born me. So that was quite shocking, some of the interactions that I witnessed. And not everybody at the top. I do know some big men who also take trotro and greet everybody and are very good people. But on general, I've seen some interactions that are quite nasty, in my own perception. But, it is what it is here, right? I'm not coming to say, hey, change this or do this. I'm just saying that this is what I witnessed. And that was a culture shock to say, like, whoosh,
big man things.
That's just something.
Yeah. But I think it's the same in other parts of the world, right? Well, it's not to that level.
I can only speak for where I know.
Right.
And in my area where I am in Canada, it's there for sure. But nobody can say like, you are not educated. And they will talk back to you. They will give it right back to you. You have a car, so what? So nobody cares. They'll just throw it right back. And that's the difference, I think. I'm sure there's some people in Ghana too who would throw it back. I don't know, but
right. Any other cultural shock that you experienced also?
I mean, a lot, but if they come out in the conversation, I'll bring it, but not off the top of my head. Those are really the ones that are at the forefront, I guess, for my mind.
Do you think coming to Ghana has changed you as a person in any way?
Oh, entirely. Entirely, yeah.
Can you pinpoint some of the areas?
Just like general anxiety, in Canada, or I won't say the Western world, because again, Canada is where I know. You have a certain image put on you through the media, through, education system, right? This is how you have to behave. This is how society puts this image on. Once you break free of that image, and I'm sure Ghanaians who go to Canada also experience something like this, right? You realize that, okay, I don't need to focus on these things. But as I got into the Ghanaian society, I started to realize, hey, people are looking at my toenails. People are looking at my shoes, go, hey, and it's something I never thought about my toenails back home. But now before I leave, what are they going to think of are these slippers okay with these? I started to pick some of those things up. And then also what's important. I'll remember being in Ghana, I've been to the north, I've been to the south, I've been to villages, and it's not an easy place all the time, for sure. A lot of people are struggling to make it. And going back home, I remember my mother was like, hey, go and cut this tree. I don't like it there. And I was like, why this tree? We're in the bush. We live in the bush. What are you concerned about this tree for? We've got pipe. We have pipe. We can just on it and there's water. Then what's the issue? So it got me thinking about, what really is important in life. What, more so, and it changed my perceptions on that kind of stuff. And, yeah, that's about it.
Have you become more friendly? Have you become more hospitable?
I think so, yeah. I think I was always friendly, but I couldn't be that way in Canada because it was always kind of like, what's wrong with this guy? People don't want to be so open. So being here and, being amongst people who are ready to chat at any time, yeah, definitely. I've found, I guess, found my way that way. This is who I am. I want to be friendly. I want to be a free guy. But, in Canada, it's a little bit more of a challenge socially to do that. So whether I've become more friendly or I've just found, myself to be that way, I'll leave that to you to decide.
Right. I had a conversation with my first Canadian on the show, and he was telling me about how he went back to Canada with the same culture, right? Having to greet everybody, hey, how are you doing? And, he did the same with a lady. And then, group of guys attacked him and assaulted him because, like, you don't know the lady. Why are you talking to her? And I feel it's something that we all need to learn.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's dangers for women, we know, out there, but just a friendly "good morning, how are you" it shouldn't be an issue. So
now let's talk about you returning again. I mean, you came to do your studies, you achieved whatever you wanted to achieve, you've seen everything. Why come back?
Ghana is a land of intellectual stimulation for me, one, and there's also a lot of opportunity out there in Ghana. And I don't just mean Accra or Kumasi, I mean beyond. So let me start on the first one. It's a fascinating place that I've studied. The economic history, the political history, the ethnic groups, the anthropological side of it is all very fascinating to me. I mean, even just going to Techiman Market, you meet people from Niger, from Mali, from South, from Ivory Coast, from Bogoso, from Sefri, everywhere you're meeting people, and they all have a language. So, trying to pick, it keeps my mind, sharp. Let me say sharp. Always learning, always asking questions, always finding out about people's histories. From hey, how does your oral history, what is it? Where did you guys come from, or how did you get here, or how did this happen? I guess for the airways is Agokoli and the migrations, and then ending up in Loga and all that stuff. Asking people, talking about it, getting more into depth about specific histories is fascinating. And when I'm home, it's 9 to 5 job. It's not the life for me, And then the opportunity side is like. Anything. I mean, you can do so much in this country where, I mean, with land, for example, right? I'm back this time to start a rice mill project with some partners and an NGO. And, there's a huge area of people growing rice, but there's no quality mills, right? You've had local rice, there's stones inside sometimes, there's some debris in it. And there's a lot of competition with export or imported rice. So how do we develop the rice industry for the farmers? I'm a development minded person. So how can we benefit them? And then the organization also managed to get a little bit to continue programs, continue doing different things in the community. It's also part, and this is like a rural area. And there's potential there to develop the area. Yes, of course, there's challenges. I know Ghanaians watching, they'll say, oh, like all that stuff. There's challenges, sure. But, going back to what I said about what's important in life is, we have to try. We have to try. So, that's why I will always come back. There's opportunity, and I'm always asking questions. It's a great place to learn. It's a great place to know. It's a great place to find more about. So,
I mean, like going back and coming back also to get something started over here, having a project is just tells me how Ghana is so dear to you. Because I mean, not everybody comes to experience all the good stuff, learn all the money, want to learn it, then go back and remember Ghana again. Now, I'm curious to know why you chose the agric, industry. Because I mean, we do have a farm also in the Volta region that we grow cassava, and we are looking for it to we have some, partners and investors we're looking for it to expand, right? But why did you choose the agricultural sector?
Well, I mean, I'm a rural guy. I grew up in the bush. Like I said, we've always had a garden. We have a garden now. And it's rural development, which is what I enjoy most. I'm not saying urban development isn't necessary. Obviously, we know, but rural development is what I like. I have a love for villages. They're the holders of culture. They're the holders of language. They're the holders of so much history. and I don't share the image of a village with most Ghanaians. That's one place that I differ quite immensely from. Ghana is not just the cities. It's not just Takoradi, Accra. It's not just Kumasi and Tamale, right? There's 800,000 villages in Ghana, and if we can do some projects in 800,000 villages, it's going to change the country. Not just a new road in Accra or Kumasi or a new market in wherever it might be, but if we focus on the 800,000 different villages or more, in Ghana, I think you'll see a lot of change everywhere.
I can relate with what you're saying because me, I grew up from Chito. That's like Volta region. It's like a small town. I grew up, every Saturday going to farm, having to play around the community and all of that. And coming to Accra, I'm like, okay, there's a vast difference, right? Sometimes I just feel like, oh, I want to go back home, go back to the farm and just go and chill, have that nature and connect with nature, my people. What do you find in these villages that is not in Accra?
It's the no stress. Well, it's not that there's no stress. Let me not say that, because sometimes there's definitely pressure in the villages too, right? It's like home for me. It's just the place to be. The good food is there. Food is always around. Even if you don't have the money, somebody has farmed the yam.
Nah.
Somebody has farmed the rice. Somebody has this, and they're probably a family member of yours, right? So there's safety nets, as I'll say, social safety nets in the development term, where everybody from a household is entitled to one meal a day from the household. Which in Accra, I don't think you're going to find it much of that kind of stuff around here. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in certain family houses, but the village has some networks that the cities don't have. It's smaller community. Everybody around. It's just a relax. I don't want to say relaxing. It's the wrong way, because some people do struggle in the villages. No, by no means. But it's just to me, it's that's where life is. That's where life is. It's in the villages.
I believe when you're gonna have to come to Ghana and stay forever, right? Retirement, just chill. You're gonna choose the villages.
Oh yeah.
Any town in mind?
Well, there's some places around Techiman, I'm sure. Yeah, and Techiman is closer to kind of everywhere. It's kind of central in the country. So if I need to go north, I can go north. If I need to go south, I can go north. I can go south. And Techiman is a place that I know well. It's part of my story, part of my journey. I know a lot of people in Techiman. I love the town. I love the areas of Techiman. Yeah, so it would definitely be there.
Okay. Now you've taken the Ghanaian culture with you, like personally. I don't want to say own it, but like you're so involved, right? When you go back to Canada and you have your videos online also, what are some of the comments your family and Canadians also make about your experience?
Well, the content side, they don't really know about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they watched it, they're not even going to like, what are you talking about? But they think it's a little off. They think it's odd. They want to be there. Most Canadians don't want to move away, right? They've got their family, they've got their place, they've got their community, they've got their house that they have to pay for, in debt, right? Canadian system is much different than here. You're tied down to a 30 years agreement or 25 years agreement that you have to pay for. And the jobs don't give you time off to take, a month and go somewhere like Ghana. So people see me to be like, why does he go here? Like, what's going on?
There?
Everybody's here. What are you doing? But again, I have that academic background. I have, my mind needs to move. So I needed to, again, as I said, Ghana is very intellectually stimulating. So people don't really understand me in that sense in Canada. So it's tough to discuss that stuff with friends or anybody. It's just sort of stays in the back pocket.
Right. Now, I'm curious also to know about the studies that you come here to come and learn, about our culture and all of that. How does it play a role in Canada? Why do you come here to learn all of these things?
Well, it was just an interesting program. I decided to take international development, right? And of course, if I'm not tied to the government. I know a lot of people online, they say, oh, FBI or CIA, which is US, not Canada. But it's not tied to the government. Canadian government does do a lot of development funding and development work. The High Commission in Accra does a lot of that stuff. But again, it's building trade, right? We're trade partners. We're from around the world. And again, I'm not saying I don't work for the Canadian government or anybody or any government. But it's always the interest of another country to see an industry develop because, hey, we can trade, right? Obviously, Ghana has resources. They have so many things. What can come from here to go on Canadian shelves for Canadian consumers or Canadian industries, right? There's a big aspect of development is trade, right? Ghana's not a small player in the world. And Canada has an interest to see Ghana's industries move, right? They want to see something happen because it also benefits them, right? The reality is, that's how partnerships work or trade works, right? It has to develop both sides. So
The reason why this podcast, one of the mission, is to change the narrative people have about Africa, right? Because there's been a lot of things said about Africa that is not entirely true. I wouldn't say it's not true. It's not entirely true because some part of Africa still needs help, right? Now, coming here to experience Ghana and other few African countries, what do you have to say about those stereotypes?
well, it's a tough one. One, it's like, why are we even minding them? Why? So they say this, so what? That's the primary aspect. Okay, thank you, have a nice day. Why are we so concerned about what they say? We know what's going on here. We know how to do things here. We know we don't live in trees or whatever they say. It's not all conflict in Ghana. People aren't just cutlassing you on the street. That's what you think. Okay, you just be there. And I guess the other one would be like understanding how certain things do happen, right? Or I won't say we, but maybe some of us should understand that the reason people think like this is through how media works, right? It's a propaganda system, and somebody is putting this out there for a reason. All right, I'm not gonna get into that kind of stuff. I don't want to say too much, but it's for people to understand that whose interest is this belief in? How did I get to understand this and why? Rather than minding them and dealing with them and getting involved with these, you shouldn't think that. It's not really like, relax. Understand that this guy has been watching this type of media or this type of exposure to, this continent. And what are the reasons why? And then now we understand. But you don't need, why are we minding them? That's my question. Do your doing, as they say. Do your doing.
Right. Now, do you believe Africa is the future also? Because we have the youngest population and a lot of investments also are moving towards this side.
The potential is huge. The potential is huge. The population is a big one. In the Western world, the carryover rate for the population is dropping, right? Japan, Italy, Canada now, 50 years, it's going to be on migration. That's going to how the population has to grow. People have one kid or no children. That's, troublesome for the future. But here, most, I think, I don't know the stats, but most are 30 or under, I believe, in their 30s or under 30s. So, it's huge, right? You need population to grow. You need people to do the work. The potential is massive. And like you're saying, the investment is coming. It's not up to me in this room to say like, hey, come and invest. But it depends on how the countries play their cards, right? How they deal with other countries. It's not a given, of course, right? It's not nothing is guaranteed in the future, but the potential surely is there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Now, I love to have this particular conversation with people who are so passionate about Africa and Ghana, to be precise. You've lived over here. You've connected with the people, right? Now, there are a lot of people coming also. Do we need to be careful about something? Do we have to put measures in place so our culture doesn't, get filtered or something? What do you think?
It's a big question. It's a big question. And it's even something like, language. nowadays when people are speaking Tree, they bring in the English a lot. People don't know the names of the fingers and the thumb. People don't know the colors in Tree. Um, it's an interesting conversation because change is, as we say in English, is the only constant, or change is the only thing that's forever. So I don't think it's up to me to decide. That's for Ghanaians to decide, right? Do you want to preserve something? How do we preserve it? Again, for me, it's the villages that are the heart of the culture. But slowly but surely, they're all coming to the towns, and they're losing some of their language or the behaviors or whatever it might be. So again, I have my opinion, but that's not for me to decide, right? That's for the Ghanaians in the room and watching. That's a discussion you guys have to have.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Now, what advice would you give anybody that's looking forward to relocate to Ghana, to Africa, to visit, to invest? What advice would you give them?
One, I'll say do it, but two, I would say you've got to know the place first. Don't just come drop $1 million investment and hope that it's going to stay in the right hands. You've got to do a little research first. You've got to know some people or investigate a little bit, which I'm sure many do, but it's a land of opportunity. So, if you can do it and you can do it correctly, it's going to help. Not only you, but the country can move. It's providing things. That's what I would say. But, do it, carefully or do it correctly, right? There's things on the ground too that we know about that can happen that aren't the best. So if you come in, do your research, prepare for everything that can happen, then yeah, go for it. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, our final conversation is going to be about. I don't know if you want to touch on it though, but have you visited the castles and the?
Oh yeah, I have.
What was the experience over there?
It's brutal. I mean, it's a brutal history. It's horrific, and I've read quite a lot about it. And it's interesting. Parallel to, I'll say, to today through imports and becoming dependent on imports, because as the Dutch brought fabrics and the British brought goods, they demanded gold originally. But once the dependence on the import was there, suddenly they demand, hey, we don't want gold, we want people. And the people still wanted the goods. And we know a bit about the history. It created things like the slave castles and, a massive diaspora and, horrific crimes against humanity. It's a brutal history, but again, understanding, and I get that parallel to today in imports, lessons can be learned from history, right? We don't always have to focus on the horrific aspects. It's good too. We can learn, hey, this is not a way to treat human beings. This is crazy. How could this happen? Why would anybody do this? It's a lesson about the evils of money, and greed and all that stuff. But for me, in my development thinking, it's like, okay, the economic is the crux of the issue for me was this dependence on imports. That's how this thing really penetrated, in my opinion. Again, I'm not an expert, I'm not a professor, but it's just something notable for me in my mind because I'm always an advocate of producing your own goods to a point. Of course, we need to trade, we need to engage with other countries. But, again, going back to the rice aspect, the Upper West and Upper East used to have thriving rice industries. But then when the borders opened up for the rice, it collapsed, right? So being that dependent on an import is always dangerous. Again, but it's not my decision. But in terms of that, historical period of time, it's horrific, but we can learn from it. We don't need to look at each other's color now and say, you did that. I wasn't there, it pains me to be there to that castle. And, you hear the narration of the story. Hey, it's some wicked stuff, but, we need to pick good lessons out of it so that we don't do crazy stuff like that.
Right. In Ghana, have you ever experienced any form of racism?
Me personally?
Mm-hmm.
Like against white people?
No, like against black people?
No, not really. No, 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 no.
Now, one of the things that stuck with me with my Canadian first guest, was that the way to move forward is realizing our mistakes, the mistakes of their ancestors, realizing it, accepting it, and then we can move forward with collaboration. Now, I don't know if you want to touch on the preparation that Ghana is pushing for. Do you want to comment on that?
No, I think my opinion would be it would be a little bit different, right? I mean, everybody had a role in it. I don't know. That's not for me to decide or to say. It's unfortunate some countries didn't, vote for it. But it's not. Again, that's for the politicians to do. I can have my opinions, but it has no impact. If that's the way they want to go, I wish them success in getting that recognition. Again, it was a horrific time in history. So if that's the route they want to take, I wish them the best for that route.
Right. Is there going to be a time where you relocate to Ghana and bring your family and all of that? Are we ever going to?
I hope so. But the Ghana is regulatory heavy. To get the papers, to get everything in order, to get residence permit, to get citizenship, to get indefinite residence, whatever it takes, all takes time. And moving somewhere without any kind of financial base too is slightly suicidal. So once if this organization that I'm doing can start bringing in some enough that I can survive, then slowly it goes from 1 month visit to 2 months visits to 6 months, and then I don't have to be in the snow again.
Yeah. Now, I also want to know, when you're preparing to come for this particular trip, right? What's the feeling like? 2 days to come to Ghana, a day to come to Ghana. Then Ufili, country move.
I don't know, treat the excitement. I don't know how to say it. Like I was just ready. I mean, going through the TikTok, you start seeing Ghana videos like, oh, look at this place. Like I know this corner. You want to skip ahead 2 days and just be there, right? So it's exciting, it's fun. But in being here is it's normal, right? It's now, I mean, it's basically like home, right? I know the place, I know people, so it's just a nice thing to do. It's a nice place to be.
Is there a special feeling you get over here that you don't get back in Canada?
Yeah, relaxed. Relaxed. Yeah. This Chile life is stressful. People don't think it is, but it's stressful. And I'm not saying Ghana isn't stressful too. Don't get me wrong, but I guess the place that I am, it's going to be stressful too, trying to set things up, trying to do some projects, right? But I do get a chance to just sit down in the evening, get the breeze under the mango tree, and just not think about anything. Don't be pressing phone, and nobody's at you to go and do this. The family's not around, so it's all nice. For me, I get that opportunity here. And I'm not saying everybody has that opportunity here, but me, that's my situation here. So I get to relax a little bit.
Right.
Oh, everything. Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
All right.
What are your final words you want to say before you go? Also, any final words?
Yeah, I guess sometimes I hear a lot of negativity from Ghanaians about Ghana, and Ghana can do it. I've been in the system. I've seen people do great things in this country, whether it's starting a business or an organization from nothing, building their house from nothing. They have no money, and then some time later they've done it. Right? There are success stories in Ghana, right? It's not always go outside. It's a great place, and I just wish all Ghanaians could experience the greatness of it. Obviously, there's the struggles side of it, right? Some places don't have boreholes, some places don't have jobs or whatever it might be, but you still have your family, you have people greeting you, you have your community around you. Money's not everything, and having people is far greater than anything else, right? So that's it.
Do you think there's one thing that you benefited from having to learn the local dialect and speak it very well?
Yeah, I mean, I have a huge network in this country. I can go into the back roads. I can go to the Zongo. It's just, it just helps you. If you're lost, You don't have to just say, where am I? You say, oh, me pa chow, da, me pa chow, me nimba bi na me wo sesiao. And then, oh, okay, Bruni, you know, anywhere you go, it helps you. And then, like I said, having a huge network, knowing people is, yeah, it's definitely, it's a great thing to know some of the language. And I won't say I'm fluent. I'll say it's bako bako.
Good, you're doing good, you're doing good. And I'm just imagining one of the places where like it's going to be very important. That's like buying something, the pricing.
That one, it doesn't help.
No? Really?
It doesn't. You know, the market ladies, they're smart. They have their ways. They say, so what, you speak tree there.
Wow, wow. But even when you, I hear a lot of people complain about this, right? When it's Obroni, it's like Obroni price. Have you had any experience like that?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
And did you like switch to tree and trying to prove to them that you belong?
I start with tree to, you know, to see what we can do, but it's just part of the, you know, part of the experience, right? The markets aren't fixed price. You have to know your way around. You have to do what you have to do.
Right.
So it's just how it is, you know.
Thank you so much for being
Again, yes, thank you too. Thank you too.
That's it. That was an interesting conversation with Kwame Ahof3. That's the name, right? That's the name on social media. Also, go check him out. He's doing amazing with the Ghanaian culture. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment.